Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another video. Just a reminder, I do have a second channel, X2, where I do lots of gaming content, mostly Star Wars games. Right now I'm uploading playthroughs of the Republic at War and Thrawn's Revenge mods for Empire at War. And I've also got some Fallen Order content. I do streaming there, and sometimes we do stuff like Mario Kart. It's super fun. I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner and down in the description. If you want to support me, please subscribe because I have so much fun doing it and I'd really like to expand the scope in the future. But on to today's video. So, as the Essential Guide to Warfare explains, although droids are an integral part of the modern Star Wars galaxy and involved in all aspects of life from child rearing to serving in protocol duties to navigation, construction, and more, they've nonetheless failed to achieve anywhere near the same rights as organics and are almost universally treated like property. This is despite the fact that, in my opinion, droids, or at least some models of droids, are unquestionably sentient. As we see especially in Star Wars Legends, droids feel fear, they grow attached to their owners and friends, they worry about each other, they have a sense of self, and they talk about their existence, as we see especially with I-5 from the MedStar duology. And just generally, most droids would pass the Star Wars version of the Turing test. Sentient droids are everywhere. We have I-5 from the MedStar duology, as I previously mentioned, who spends a lot of time wishing that he could get drunk and play cards. Then we have others like Godo, IG-88, HK-47, and of course R2-D2 and C-3PO. Although there are some very simple droids, without belaboring the point, many also were basically living beings in a metal shell. So that notwithstanding, and even recognizing the fact that many people feel affection and sometimes even love towards their droids, the majority of the Star Wars galaxy has never recognized them as anything other than property. I say the majority of the galaxy because I'm talking about the Empire, the Republic, and more. There may be some small factions where droid rights have really gained a hold, but galaxy-wide, certainly not. There are several reasons for this, primarily the origin of the droid and the way droids have interacted with the rest of the galaxy throughout history. First of all, construction droids and also war droids predated the introduction of the more friendly or likable droid models. I'm talking about droid doctors, protocol droids, etc. So before droids were interacting with people on a one-on-one level, they were either performing construction, which is certainly helpful, or killing them. Certainly that wasn't a good start for the mechanical beings, although as they did start to become more intelligent, and especially as Class 3 droids came into use, and Class 3 are ones who basically interact with humans, the galaxy did start to consider extending full rights to automata. By 4,000 or so years before the Battle of Yavin, this trend was actually growing in popularity. However, interrupting that was the Great Droid Revolution, which saw HK-01 lead a droid revolt which seized power on thousands of worlds, including Coruscant. And this wasn't just using battle droids, this was using the droids that were embedded in the everyday fabric of life. We don't often see that aspect of the Star Wars universe, and part of that is due to the declining droid use into the modern period, but especially during the Republic era, droids like the BRT supercomputer were largely responsible for running entire cities. Regardless, by the end of the Revolution, many people were killed and anti-droid sentiment rose dramatically. Interestingly, I think something like a Great Revolution is probably the best indicator that droids are sentient and probably deserve a degree of rights. Droids were often also used by enemies of the Republic, including the Mandalorians, who of course use their famous Basilisk war droids. Then we have abominations of the Sith, like the Techno droids, and more. Additionally, there were several minor droid revolutions, including the seizing of the Gordian Reach, and even smaller planetary uprisings, like we saw, for example, in Solo. So basically, organics treated droids very, very badly, gave them no rights, then get really annoyed when the droids fight back. The perpetuating cycle creates even more fear and just makes things worse. Anti-droid sentiment and droid phobia reached a point eventually where the Republic was not even willing to have droids in their army just because it was too politically costly. In the 2 decades before the Trade Federation, the Republic also had several conflicts with droid armies, including the Arcanian Scientist Revolution and the droid attack at the hands of Mustag Olis. In reality, these latter 2 events were most likely the Trade Federation and other factions preparing to create a galaxy-wide droid army, which they began production of in the years before the Clone Wars. The army was already being built up by the time of the Battle of Naboo, and of course by the Clone Wars there were trillions of droids fighting across the galaxy and committing atrocities against everyday people. Although, as I mentioned in a prior video, the Republic did try to make their own battle droid models. Not only were they not successful, but Republic propaganda generally pushed the idea of clones fighting endless evil metal hordes. So in a way, Republic propaganda may have somewhat backfired, but we just have another example where battle droids and wars serve to vilify the droid race as a whole. As Palpatine gained power, he continued the anti-droid propaganda and even extended that to cyborgs. This was most likely meant as a way to control people, create divisions, and also prevent someone from creating a private droid army. The Empire also employed for their own purposes, despite their propaganda, droids of their own. I think the torture droid used by the Empire is probably one of the most recognizable symbols of evil and fear for the galaxy, but we also have things like probe droids, droid special forces units like the Dark Troopers. The Dark Empire relied very heavily on droids, using automata on the ground and droid starfighters in space, all of which was used against the galaxy alongside things like world devastators to a terrible effect. On that note, other factions in the New Republic era, like the Psi Ruvi, brought their own droid terrors to bear. Entechment is one of the most terrible procedures in the Star Wars galaxy and involves the forced transfer of a being into a droid or mechanical part as a means of power, and again, certainly didn't help the image of droids and cyborgs. On the note of cyborgs, General Grievous certainly didn't help their state in the galaxy any, and even high-ranking Imperials like Screed faced immense hate, and under Imperial rule, cybernetics generally were heavily limited. Then we have Darth Vader, of course, again, not really helping droid interests, and we get a pretty good picture of why the galaxy has never really extended rights to droids. Now, that's not to say that droid right ideas didn't have any sympathizers. We see some of that, for example, in the courtship of Princess Leia, where one of the politicians is worried about offending the droid rights contingency, but probably their biggest boon would come during the Yuuzhan Vong War. The Yuuzhan Vong, as I'm sure many of you know, absolutely hated droids. They saw them as an affront to their gods and religion, so they went across the galaxy essentially purging them. The New Republic used this hate to their advantage, as they used droid warriors to infuriate their opponents, then later had YVH models contributing on the front lines and seriously helping the war effort. But that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you thought of this topic down in the description. Before I go though, I do have a hashtag AskEck question of the day. This one comes from Chad, who asks about interdictors, hyperspace, and gravity wells. Basically, the old EU and the West Endgame source material especially was clear that hyperspace jumping was prevented by gravity wells, and basically interdictors prevent ships from going to hyperspace through the use of simulated or artificial gravity wells. The confusion comes from the fact that Star Wars canon has shown ships jumping to hyperspace from within a planet's gravity well, and although it has been explained that it has to do with the safety features of a Nava computer, I honestly just don't think that makes any sense. I would be willing to do a whole video on this, but it just comes down to Star Wars canon being extremely fast and loose with how it treats hyperspace, not that Legends never did so as well. But we also saw this issue quite recently in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I think if you watch my playthrough, there's a funny moment where it really annoys me. But yeah, it's just inconsistent lore and a kind of workaround that, in my opinion, doesn't work very well, because as the comment mentions, there's a bunch of reasons why that breaks continuity. But that's all I have for you guys today. As I said, please do me a favor and check out my second channel. I'm doing a Republic at War playthrough, a Thrawn's Revenge playthrough, there's Jedi Fallen Order stuff coming up, and I live stream several times a week, including drunk Empire at War stuff, which is just really fun. I've chosen to move kind of away from Twitch in favor of YouTube because I'm not a huge fan of the way Twitch is going, to be honest, and because it's so hard to grow. I've been declined for the Twitch partner program a few times now, despite meeting their needed limits, and I just prefer YouTube as a service, and I prefer having my videos on the platform where they can get views. But as I said, links in the description. I appreciate you guys greatly. I hope you enjoyed these 2 uploads today, and until next time, have a great day, and may the Force be with you.